2023. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
I will, Mr. Mayor. Alderman Como? Alderman GOV?
Here.
Alderman Clemmons?
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons? Alderman Moran? Alderman Klee, I'm here, and Mayor Donches.
I'm here.
Mr. Mayor, we have 4 in attendance. We have quorum. Also,
Great.
did you
Sorry,
want
go
to?
ahead.
Also in attendance is Ms. Linder, Ms. Gerard, Mr. Meiservich, Mr. Boucher, Mr. Lafleur, Director Bagley, and Elizabeth Thibault. Director Cummings, Amy DeRoche, Jill Stansfield. No, she's not here, I apologize. And I believe that's it.
All right, so we have public comment.
I apologize. And very important, Alderman Thibault, seeing his daughter's here, we should acknowledge him too.
We have public comment, and the first course public comment is reserved for comments related to tonight's agenda. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the committee?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I happen to notice that we have a purchase order for the hiring of it looks like a one employee from Vision who's going to be here each year. Maybe it was a 5-year contract, I noticed, to do assistance with the assessors downstairs. And my question is, the contract called out a certain number of building permits they were going to cover. Maybe it was 7,500. Do we know what capacity that is that they're going to cover for the total number?
I think we will learn more about the contract when that item comes up on the agenda.
Okay, well, I'm glad to see that position being done. I think that maintaining our data quality is a good thing, and it was always difficult, even particularly for residential properties with just 2 assessors. They just didn't have the time to get out and cover all of the sales and permit work that was done in the city, and that this service would be pretty helpful in maintaining our data integrity. So thank you.
Is there any other member of the public who wishes to speak to the committee? If not, we'll go to communications. The first from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Klee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to, from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regards to software and hardware maintenance in the amount of $83,485.83, funded from 54407, software maintenance, and 54414, hardware maintenance. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the annual renewal contract for the continued operations of Cronus Maintenance and Support Services for the timekeeping software with Cronus Incorporated in the amount of $83,485.83. Funding will be through the Department 122 Information Technology, Fund 54407, Software Maintenance, $66,665.32, and 54414, Hardware Maintenance, $16,820.51.
All right, I believe Mr. Meiservich is here via Zoom.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick Meiservich, Chief Information Officer for the City of Nashua. This is our yearly renewal for the Kronos product, which, as you are aware, does our timekeeping and feeds all that information into our Lawson system. We broke out the software component, which is licensing and support, and hardware, which is the time clocks. There are now approximately 40 scattered throughout city buildings and school buildings.
All right, any questions from members of the committee or any member of the board? Questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to change order 1 for landfill gas system expansion in the amount of $479,060 funded from 54210 Construction Services Bond. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve a change order 1 to contract with SCS Field Services of Reston, Virginia, to construct an expansion of the landfill gas collection system in the amount of $479,060. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activity Landfill Gas Expansion.
Mr. LaFleur?
Yes, thank you. This is a major gas expansion that's going on in the Phase 3 landfill. It's our first one that we've done for the Phase 3. It's going to also entail having a new header line put through in anticipation for the Phase 4 construction. This is also done needed by our DES permit. We have to expand our gas expansion, and it'll help eliminate any odors or emissions out into the atmosphere.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Contract in regards to contract for replacement and refurbishment of the landfill scales in the amount not to exceed $186,644, funded from 5210 Construction Services Bond. Mr. Mayor, I motion to award a contract to Northeast Scale Company Incorporated of Hooksett, New Hampshire to replace the inbound scale and refurbish the equipment for the outbound scale at Fort Hills landfill. The total cost not to exceed $186,644. Funding through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activity SW Landfill Scale Replacement.
All right, Mr. LaFleur?
Thank you, Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. Yes, this is, as it says, we're going to repair one scale and we're going to replace the other. These are our major money makers for the city. They have to be accurate, and they haven't been touched in over 25 years since I've been at the landfill. We're doing this to help alleviate any issues. If there was a catastrophic failure, we'd start having to guesstimate how much is coming into our landfill, and we need to have accurate weights for our permits.
All right, anybody have anything? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is a communication again from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to change order 1 for the 2022 pavement preservation program in the amount not to exceed $43,120.08, funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services Bond. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve change order 1 for the 2022 pavement preservation program to Seal Coating Incorporated, DBA Industry of Braintree, Mass, in an amount not to exceed $43,120.08, funding through Department 160 Engineering Source Funded 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Bond. And Mr. Mayor, I did forget to announce that Mr. Saunders is also here.
All right, Mr. Saunders?
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. This change order is for preservation, the crack sealant treatment. This change order is scheduled to do about 14 miles of city roadways with this treatment. And just to refresh everyone's memory, crack sealant, it's a preservation treatment. It adds 1 to 3 years of life. We seal the cracks so that moisture doesn't further degrade the roadway. And I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not so much a question as just, I know I'm sure other aldermen get the same thing. People say, why do we have these black squiggly lines all over the road? Why don't we just pave it or coat it? So this, as you said, saves 1 to 3 years of life, and it's more cost efficient than even just doing a full seal coating over it?
Yes, correct. So the pavement life and the pavement preservation methodology is you're always trying to reset the life of the pavement. And The further it goes down, the more expensive it gets. So if you let a road completely fail, you're going to be in a base rehab, which is the most costly treatment. Typically, our paving program focuses on the structural improvements. That's the mill and fills of the world. This treatment is typically applied between years 5 and 7, and it'll seal the cracks because if a crack is left untreated, water will infiltrate the freeze-thaw cycle. Those cracks become potholes. Potholes deteriorate the road even further, and that service life of the road will be less. So this is resetting that curve to bring life back into the road at about 1 to 3 years.
Thank you. It doesn't look pretty, but it saves us some money, so thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to engineering services for Greeley Park Stonehouse in the amount not to exceed $101,300, funded from 81200 Building and Improvements Bond. Mr. Mayor, a motion to approve the engineering services contract with Wright Pierce of Portsmouth, New Hampshire in the amount not to exceed $101,300 for the development of the construction documents for renovations and repairs to the Greeley Park Stonehouse. Funding through Department 160 Engineering, source funded 81200 Buildings and Improvements Bonds.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Saunders?
Good evening, Mark Saunders, Deputy City Engineer. So this amendment with Wright Pierce is for engineering services to design and develop documents for bidding to repair, restore, and renovate the Stonehouse at Greeley Park. The Stonehouse was built in 1911 and has been a significant historical structure in the city. The repairs, restoration, renovations included are going to be the roofing system, the bathrooms, windows, doors, HVAC, plumbing, and the electrical systems. This effort will bring the structure up to the latest building codes and ADA standards and will align with the historical preservation per the Department of the Interior. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Gouveia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question from me. Was this put open for bid or was this a sole source?
This is engineering services, so we directly
Okay,
selected.
so this was done in-house?
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This is in my ward, and anybody who knows that I have a passion for Greeley Park. I appreciate this. One of the complaints that I've gotten about the building is that it's not ADA. It doesn't support ADA compliance, but it was grandfathered in and so on. There has been a lot of complaints about the roof and so on. This is just the design. This is not actually doing the work of fixing that. This is just kind of getting a feel as to what needs to get done. Is that correct?
Correct. This isn't a fail. This will be what we're bringing forward for this building. The roof is the main cost of this. That's probably in the realm of $300,000 to $400,000. In addition to that, we have worked with the Parks Department and Superintendent Conant to further expand on that. And a part of that is the bathrooms are not ADA compliant as well as the fountain with the wolf head. There's some change in levels, so we're looking to level all that out as well. But this is for the design process to bring a complete package to go to bid to completely bring up the structure to building code and ADA standards.
Thank you.
All right, any questions, comments in addition? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, again, from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to FY24 purchase of polymer in the amount of $730,000 funded by 61156 Chemicals / General Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the fiscal year 24 purchase of polymer from Polydyne of Riceboro, Georgia in the amount of $730,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund 61156 Chemical / General Fund.
Mr. Boucher?
Thank you, Dave Boucher, Wastewater Superintendent. This is for the annual purchase of polymer at the wastewater plant. It's a product we use to aid in the drying and thickening of our sludge. Periodically, we have different companies come in and test their products against our sludge at the facility. So far, Polydyne has produced the best product for us at a reasonable price. I'd like to continue using them. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I don't see anything. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next
Thank you.
item, Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Cleve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to animal impoundment and quarantine services, the amount of $99,081 funded from 56214 Humane Society Animal Control / General Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the renewal of the Humane Society contract for fiscal year 24 in the amount of $99,081. Funding will be through Department 171 Public Health Fund 56214 Humane Society Animal Control / General Fund.
Is there anyone here on this? Oh, Bobby. Ms. Bagley, thank you. I didn't see you.
Good evening, thank you. Bobby Bagley, Chief Public Health Official for the City of Nashua's Division of Public Health and Community Services. And this is the annual renewal of the Humane Society's contract that provides services for impoundment and quarantine for animals in the City of Nashua. The Humane Society has been providing these services for a number of years for the City of Nashua. According to some of the data that they have provided to us about, on average, they will take about 25 to 27 animals per month. So far, from the data that we have from 2022, in the first 7 months, they did have services provided to 447 animals, the majority of those being dogs and cats. They have had services provided for guinea pigs, rabbits, ducks, turtles, hamsters, and gerbils, with the majority of those animals being adopted or returned. And just about a quarter of that number, well, actually really smaller than that, less than 10% of that number has been euthanized. So they do a really good job of making sure animals are either adopted or returned to their original owners. We've only had one chicken that has been serviced so far, and unfortunately that chicken was euthanized and probably needed to be. They do provide other services in support of emergency management services. They will pick up and take in animals if needed be. And so this contract, we're hoping that you will continue to approve and fund the services provided by the Humane Society. And I'll take any questions.
All right, anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bagley. Now we have another communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Cleve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to change orders 4 and 5 for the Jackson Mills hydroelectric project in the amount of $124,485 funded from 81700 Infrastructure Improvement / Bond. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve change orders 4 and 5 for the Jackson Mills hydroelectric project in the amount of $124,485. Funding will be through Department 170 Hydroelectric Operations, Fund 81700 Infrastructure Improvements / Bond.
Ms. Chisholm?
Hi, good evening, Deb Chisholm, Sustainability Manager. These two change orders are with the company Mavel. They are the ones that have fabricated the new turbine for the Jackson Mills turbine replacement project that, if you haven't been by Margaritas lately, is ongoing, but the water right now is a little on the high side, so we haven't gotten to the exciting part yet. Meanwhile, the turbine is being stored at the Mavel facility in the Czech Republic. This change order 4 is for additional storage. The original date for install of this project was summer of 2021. So now this is the second time I've been in front of you asking for a change order for storage of the equipment and an additional year, extending the warranty for an additional year. So the warranty on all the equipment will now run through the end of January of 2026.
Any comment, questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager.
I-
Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to professional consulting services for assessing in the amount of $444,900 funded from 53452 Staffing Services / General Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve a multi-year contract for professional consulting services with Vision Government Solutions in the amount of $444,900, approximately $95,000 annually. Funding will be through Department 132 Assessing, Fund 53452, Staffing Services / General Funds.
Ms. Zins?
Good evening, Jennifer Zins, the Assessing Department Manager. This is in regards to the consulting services, given the fact that we, in the Assessing Department, do not currently have an assessing supervisor that's DRA certified. This is what we're trying to get a contract approved for, is to have Vision step in and act as our assessor supervisor and continue with the consulting that we've been receiving during the revaluation as well. They will act on abatements and sign off. We'll still be, in the assessing department, still be doing our own role, but then they will be the signing off.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Contract for statistical update revaluation in the amount of $430,000 funded from 89726 /SURF. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve a multi-year contract for statistical update revaluation with Vision Government Solutions in the amount of $430,000. Funding will be through Department 132 Assessing, Fund 89726 /SURF.
Ms. Zins?
Jennifer Zins, the Assessing Department Manager, and again, this is through Vision as well. This is a different contract. This one's statistical. A lot of the communities in the state of New Hampshire, they don't wait for the 5-year reval period. They are tending to find, given the market where it's been so up and down, it puts a little bit of an ease on the residents. So therefore, we recommend that we would do like a 2-year statistical. And we also have the caveat that if that given 2-year that we feel that we don't necessarily need it, we can carry it over for the next year. It's a 3-cycle statistical, and it's a multi-year contract. And again, that's through Vision.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to amendment number 1 for engineering services in the amount of $80,500 funded from 55699 other contracted services. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve amendment number 1 for engineering services for the Elm Street and High Street parking garages with Thornton Tomasetti Incorporated in the amount of $80,500. Funding will be through Department 166 Parking, Fund 55699, other contracted services.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Finance Committee, Tim Cummings, Director of Administrative Services. What you have before you is an amendment to an existing contract for design services to repair and rehabilitate both the High and Elm Street parking garages. The initial contract was only to bring design up to 50% design. This is an amendment to bring it to 100% design, so there could be full construction documents to put out to bid for construction. If and when we do that, we want to be in a place to be able to have a good understanding of the cost that it would take to go under construction. This is something that unfortunately Jill Stansfield would have been here this evening to present this tonight, but she sent her regrets and she asked me to come in her stead.
Questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to amendment for professional engineering services for final design services of the Nashua Downtown Riverfront Implementation Project in the amount of $53,860 funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve an amendment for professional engineering services for updates to the Cotton Mill ADA ramp project to meet federal funding regulations, as well as the Pine Street pedestrian crossing final design services with Van Ays Hangen Brustlin VHB Incorporated in the amount of $53,860. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development Fund 5310 Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Ms. DeRoche?
Yes, Amy DeRoche, Economic Development Project Manager. This is an amendment to VHB's current final design contract for the riverfront. It was to allow us to accept the $300,000 that we received in federal funds for the ADA ramp. This work has been completed as far as allowing us to accept the federal funds, so it had to be done in conjunction. And now they're working on the Pine Street mid-block crossing as part of the final design.
All right, questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to amendment for professional engineering services of the environmental permitting of the Nashua Downtown Riverfront Implementation Project in the amount of $55,600 funded from 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve and place on file an amendment for professional engineering services for environmental permitting of the Nashua Downtown Riverfront Implementation Project with Van Ays Hangen Brustlin VHB Incorporated in the amount of $55,600. Funding will be through Department 183 Economic Development, Fund 53107 Architect and Engineering Services / Riverfront TIF Fund.
Ms. DeRoche?
Yeah, Amy DeRoche, Economic Development Project Manager. This is an amendment to VHB's Riverfront permitting contract. This will cover soil pre-characterization testing and management for the construction of the ADA ramp, which is currently out to bid. And it will also cover a new wetland permit for a new segment of the boardwalk that has been adjusted to be further over the cove on the northwest quadrant to make it more ADA accessible.
Anyone? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Roche, thank you so much. I just recently took a walk down that way, and I was glad to hear that we're doing that, because following the line of the bank I was looking at it going, ooh, this is going to be very, very hard, especially if you had to do a 90-degree turn there. So I think it does, I think it will look very nice as well. So thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purchase of ammunition in the amount of $76,079 funded from 61121 Ammunition and Supplies General Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the purchase of ammunition from Eagle Point Gun / TJ Morris and Sons in the amount of $76,079. Funding will be through Department 150 Police Fund 61121 Ammunition and Supplies General Fund. And Mr. Mayor, I think, I'm trying to think.
It's Dave Elliott.
Yes.
Good evening. Dave Elliott, National Police Department Firearms Training Unit. So traditionally, our ammunition for the yearly supply was purchased through a state contract. That contract was through Eagle Point, otherwise known as TJ Morris and Sons. Recently this year, that contract expired. We went out to bid. We had 4 companies respond. After looking at all the weight criteria and the cost, Eagle Point TJ Morris and Sons was the only company that could meet the needs of the department and also did so at a much more affordable price. So that's why we are recommending TJ Morris Eagle Point for this yearly purchase.
All right, any questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, sir.
Communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purchase of bulletproof vests in the amount not to exceed $71,142.50, funded from 6110 Protective Clothing / BVP grant. Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve the purchase of bulletproof vests with the Atlantic Tactical in the amount of $71,142.50. Funding will be through Department 150 Police, Fund 61110 Protective Clothing / BVP grant.
Thank you, Dave Elliott again, Nashville Police Firearms Training Unit. The funds we're requesting here to replace the body armor of 50 officers whose armor is due to expire. It does expire after 5 years. In addition, we're asking for 15 additional pieces of body armor, and that would be for anticipated new hires for a total of 65 sets of body armor.
Okay. Anybody have questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Unfinished business, we have none. Table in committee, none. New business, resolutions and ordinances, none. Record of expenditures. Alderwoman Clee.
Turn the page here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the records of expenditures for the period June 30th, 2023 to July 13th, 2023.
Anybody have questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Does anybody have general discussion? Public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the Finance Committee?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I'm hoping I might be able to get some answers tonight. I'm trying to understand when a contract is necessary when we hire somebody, particularly the hiring of Neil Cannon to do some professional contract work for economic development. I addressed this with the Board of Aldermen, and I showed you that invoices were submitted for 3 months, December, January, and February, with no detail provided. And these were given out as non-PO invoices, I discovered. I don't think it's correct or proper that a citizen can't tell what a contractor is doing because there's no proposal, nothing in writing, or no information of what they're up to. I had to file a right to know to get the emails to try and find out what they were doing because the city wouldn't answer basic questions to allow me to have it. And when I got the response, there were, I'm guessing, 150 emails. They batched out one batch of them. Mr. Cannon's doing primarily work for the Performing Arts Center. I don't know why that's not billed to the Performing Arts Center and why it's coming through economic development contracts. But I'm also extremely concerned about the records provided. They came, it took a month to get them, and the records were heavily redacted, 78 pages with probably 500 redactions. We have battled this redaction issue, citizens, against the city for 3 years, and in particular against this new right to know administrator. Every one of these redactions was wrong. And it went back into legal, and they unredacted these documents completely. These documents are now, they took Mr. Cannon's name off, and they required no redactions. So I hear leaders in this city, like you, Mr. Mayor, complain to the public that citizens are wasting so much money when we ask for emails and redactions take so much time. You're breaking the law when you redact. And one classic example is this one. Here's a page of redactions, heavily redacted. What's redacted is the address of a for-profit sign company, business address. And what the administrator, the right to know administrator, put on that was that the address of the company at 125 Front Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut, was redacted as confidential commercial or financial information pursuant to RSA 91A:5 Roman numeral 4. That is 100% incorrect. And after the court order from the court on July 7th, After the court order issued by Judge Temple, I wrote to Russ Hilliard that you've hired to represent these cases and said, I've had it. I've had it with what you're doing, wasting our money and running us around. And he contacted the legal office, said, take a look, and all of these redactions were wrong. Every one of them, and we waited a month for those records. Didn't even need it. So, you know, I want to know why we hired Mr. Cannon. I think citizens ought to know how our money is being spent. And I'd like answers on why these non-PO contracts are being awarded. $15,000 has been paid. It's like he's getting a backdoor payment of $5,000 a month. And these emails show that he continues to do work in April, May, and March, April, and May. I couldn't even ask the city when his contract ends. Or they wouldn't answer that. They said, we're not going to answer that. Is that more right-to-knows I have to file?
Time is up.
So I think I'm owed some answers instead of filing right-to-knows.
Any other member of the public wish to speak to the committee? If not, we'll go to remarks by Alderman. Any remarks by Alderman? If not, I will, since Alderwoman Klee is the clerk, I will turn to Alderman Clemmons.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at
7:36?
7:36 p.m.